What is up? Welcome back to Reggie's World Sports. And today, we're going to get into that disastrous performance by the Atlanta Falcons. But before we get started, I just want to tell you guys to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share this with your friends and family, and continue to support my channel. We're going to get into that awful, disastrous performance by the Atlanta Falcons. They lost to the Seattle Seahawks 34-14, and it was bad. You know, Kirk Cousins had a quote last week from the late great Bankroll Fresh, in which he quoted, "Walk into your trap, take over your trap." And unfortunately, the Seattle Seahawks walked into Atlanta's trap, and they took over Atlanta's trap. It was bad. It was awful. It was awful. And Seattle, look, kudos to them. They took over that game. I mean, they dominated that game from start to finish. Offensively, they pretty much did whatever they wanted to do for most of the game. And defensively, they more than did enough. And, I looked at Seattle coming into this game as a team that, Seattle, they needed this game. The Seattle Seahawks needed this game, and they played like they needed this game, considering the fact that they did start the year off 3-0, and then they ended up losing 3 straight games. And they've had some injuries on defense. But, they came in and they took it to the Falcons. They played with more urgency. The Falcons did not. The Falcons, probably for the first time since week 1, they looked like just an unprepared team. And it's pretty disappointing for me to say, because I've been raving about Raheem Morris for most of the year. But Raheem Morris did not have his team ready to play yesterday. He just didn't. And you can just tell by I think it was the first drive, maybe the second drive, offensive drive. But, the Falcons had 3 straight false start penalties on 3 back-to-back plays. It's awful. It's just awful. It's unacceptable. You're at home, for crying out loud. Why are you having false start penalties at home? 3 straight at that. And so the penalties it was bad. The penalties on the offensive side of the ball was a disaster. But I want to get into this defense for the Falcons, because my takeaway from that game is defensively. I feel like I say this every Falcons recap or preview that I do on here. And it just bears repeating again. It's just the lack of pass rush. It's a joke. It's a joke that the Falcons just can't rush the passer. They have 6 sacks in 7 games. Let me repeat that. The Atlanta Falcons have 6 sacks in 7 games. 6. And I have jokingly say this, that every quarterback that plays the Atlanta Falcons, they just sit behind the pocket, they scroll down the field, they take out their iPhone, they scroll on Instagram, they like pictures of Instagram models and comedians and family members before they can just drop back and complete a pass. Every time. Every time. And as a Falcon fan, it drives me crazy that this team can't rush the passer. And it's not just this year, it's every year. And quite frankly, it's every year since, I'm going to say it's been every year since 2005. 19 years. That's right, it's been that long. Now, I know they had John Abraham, and he was great. But if we're being honest, John Abraham was probably the only legit pass rusher that the Falcons had that the Falcons had on that defensive line. And even then, I felt like those Falcon defensive teams were pretty average for the most part. And so you have to go back almost 20 years. And I'm talking about the days in which the Falcons had Patrick Kearney and Rod Coleman and Brady Smith. That's the last time that I can remember that the Falcons had a good defensive line that can just do everything. Rush the quarterback, stop the run, and just dominate. The Falcons haven't had that in quite some time. And it's just, and like, we traded for Matthew Judon. We traded for him just about a month and a half ago. Or 2 months ago. Like we traded for him. And I'm just watching the Falcon game. I'm just like, where is he? Where is he on my TV? Like, what is he making plays? What is he doing? Like, I can't find him. Like, he's just been MIA this season for the Falcons. It's just been disappointing. And look, I know they pressured Geno Smith a little bit, but even still, Geno Smith was able to move. The Falcons couldn't get him on the ground. He was able to run around, make plays with his legs, and even find guys on the run, making throws on the run. I mean, it's just awful, man. It's awful. The Falcons' lack of pass rush is a problem. I don't know what it is. It just feels like every edge rusher that the Atlanta Falcons either draft or get, they come to Atlanta and they just die. Literally. Like, they just come here and I don't know what it is. It's some curse when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons in edge rushers, in defensive ends. They just come here and they just don't do anything. And I can't explain it. Like, literally. I can't explain it. I don't know. But, I mean, the lack of pass rush, again, was a problem. The secondary, A.J. Terrell, I don't know what's happened with him. Every week he's getting torched. DK Metcalf of the Seahawks just did a number on him. And look, Seattle got some weapons. Like, you look at Seattle's team. Like, we all know Geno Smith's a capable quarterback. But, they got DK Metcalf. They got Tyler Lockett. Kenneth Walker is probably one of the more underrated running backs that we don't talk about in the NFL. He's been good. And I thought he was very good yesterday. Not just as a runner, but as a receiver. He had a really good over-the-shoulder catch for a touchdown. And so so Seattle got some offensive talent. But, back to A.J. Terrell, because he was on DK Metcalf for most of the day, and he just got his butt kicked. DJ Metcalf just owned him. He owned him. And it feels like every receiver these days that A.J. Terrell's on, it feels like that receiver owns him most of the time. At least that's how it's been this season, it seems. But I don't know if you guys saw that play. It was in the first half where the Seahawks ran a reverse, and Geno pitched the ball to the wide receiver, and the wide receiver threw the ball to DK Metcalf, and he caught the ball, and A.J. Terrell just standing up in the air, looking lost, not knowing where the ball was, and he just let DK just catch the ball over him. I'm just looking at that play. And I'm just like, dude, A.J. Terrell, like, what are you doing? Like, you gonna make a play on the ball or what? Like, seriously. And so A.J. Terrell just had an awful game. And then on top of that, and the game that really set me off was when he allowed DK Metcalf to score a touchdown with like a few seconds left in the first half. Like, the Falcons, it was 10-7. And all the Falcons had to do was to not allow Seattle to have a big play and to allow them to at least have a short game or enough for them to kick a field goal or whatever. You allow Geno Smith to sit right back in the pocket, and A.J. Terrell gets beat over the middle, and DK Metcalf scores a touchdown. And it's 17-7. And to me, I felt like at that point of that game, I felt like that's when I knew that, the Falcons might have lost. Because Seattle had all the momentum coming into that game. And if the Falcons, had that game been 13-7 at halftime, the Falcons would have, you would have looked at that and said, okay, the Falcons got some momentum, not some momentum, but some hope. And like, okay, you just get your act together a little bit. We can make this a game again. But it was just the defense to me is just a massive problem on this team. It's a massive problem. And it starts with our inability to pressure the quarterback. We just can't pressure the quarterback at all. And I just don't know what to do about that. Like, literally, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I've suggested last week that I thought the Falcons should at least call Dallas and see what it would take to get Micah Parsons. But I mean, who knows? I mean, that's who knows what's gonna happen with that. And I don't know. I mean, seriously, like, Max Crosby from the Raiders. The Raiders seem to be going through some type of rebuild and might be open to moving some dudes. Cleveland has a couple of solid edge rushers. I don't know what the Falcons should do or what type of guy that they should target in the trade market, but they gotta get this. They gotta figure out this edge rusher, this lack of pass rush thing out. Like, please, because I'm here to tell you guys, if the Falcons are gonna have issues consistently pressuring the quarterback, I don't think this season's going to end too well, long term. Like, I'm just saying. And so, they're going to have to figure that part out at some point. But the defense, to me, is a massive issue. And offensively, like I said, it wasn't, the penalties to start off the game wasn't good. Kirk Cousins, I felt like, was a little off. That there was a play on third down in the first half where he had Ray McCloud open on the right and he overthrew him. I think there was another play where he overthrew Kyle Pitts and he had him open. So Kirk Cousins just felt like he wasn't consistently accurate. He was a little off. And, the offensive line, look, they lost Bergeron late in the game. And so now the offensive line is dealing with some injuries. And, it felt like after that, Kirk Cousins was a little under pressure a little bit. And look, we all know with Kirk Cousins, if you pressure him, you can rattle him a little bit. And so, look, it wasn't Kirk Cousins' best day either. It felt like offensively, the only guy who was able to get much of anything going was Bijan Robinson. Look, shout out to Bijan Robinson. He had 105 yards on, I think it was 21 carries. And so I thought Bijan Robinson was terrific as a runner and as a receiver, made some plays in the passing game as well. But, just offensively, offensively wasn't our best day. But, and look, like I said, shout out to the Seattle Seahawks. Like, they were the better team. They came in and they dominated us. And so, again, it wasn't, the Falcons are going to have to get some stuff to correct it. Like, there's just no way around it. Defensively, they're gonna have to figure some stuff out defensively because we got a lot of issues on that side of the ball right now. And offensively, I think they're gonna be okay. It's just a bad afternoon on the offensive side of the ball. But look, the thing with the offense for me is just the penalties. The penalties on the offensive side, like we got if we can just clean that up and just clean up some of these mental errors on the offensive side of the ball, I think they'll be okay. Like I do. I do. And so, but it was overall it was just a bad performance. It was a bad performance. The Falcons looked like a team that just wasn't ready to play. Seattle was, and they played with more urgency than we did. That's just kind of the bottom line for me. Like, the Seahawks played with more urgency than the Atlanta Falcons did, and the Falcons got worked. They got worked on both sides of the ball, and they're gonna have to get their act together because Tampa Bay, we all know they want some revenge for what the Falcons did to them a couple of weeks ago when they stole that game and won in overtime 36-30. And we're going to Tampa. So it's gonna be tough. And Tampa's a good team. And so Falcons, like I said, they got some work to clean up. Especially defensively. Defensively, this team has to get their act together. And can we get a pass rush, please? And so, look, defensively, they're going to have to get their act together. Offensively, they're going to have to start playing with some consistency. And, we'll see what the Falcons can do to bounce back from this, because make no mistake about it, this game against Seattle was a humbling beating. The Falcons got humbled a little bit against Seattle, and so we're gonna find out to see what this team is made of, and we're gonna see what this team can do, and to see what adjustments they're gonna be able to make to bounce back from this bad, uninspiring, embarrassing loss, because they're going to need to get their act together quick, fast, and in a hurry. And that's all I got. And so, again, we'll see what happens. We'll see if the Falcons can bounce back against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next weekend. But, until then, catch you guys in the next episode.